Final Fantasy VII is getting a high-def remake soon, and Dom Hassett of Access Point Gaming is here to help me break down what we know and how we feel about it. Welcome everybody to this brief discussion about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. As I said, I'm joined by my good buddy Dom of Access Point Gaming, who has agreed to come on my channel to help me talk about this game.
Hey John, great to be doing this video with you, and excited to talk about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was fortunate enough to attend PSX this year in San Francisco, where I got to watch the world premiere of the new trailer live.
Dom, you want to give us the rundown since you were there?
The whole theater roared with excitement within seconds of seeing the Final Fantasy VII logo, and we all watched intently as the trailer ensued.
I can only imagine the excitement that must have permeated the entire hall, especially when characters such as Wedge, Biggs, and Jessie, who had previously only been represented through textures and simple gestures, finally spoke up.
Though it was no surprise to hear voices given to the characters, it was a real joy to hear them. These characters were already deep and engaging, but with the added dimension of voice acting, we're sure to become all the more invested in them.
These characters, along with Cloud and Barrett, being fully voiced allows for greater emotional attachments. As human beings, we're hardwired to latch on to voices, so being able to hear these characters will, as you pointed out, Dom, help players become more attached to them than ever before.
Then there was the gameplay. PSX attendees and viewers got to be the very first people to witness the remake's actual gameplay, which featured Cloud walking around Midgar and battling Shinra troops with his buddy Barrett.
Now, looking at the trailer, you may have noticed that all of the footage is from the first hour or so of the game. Basically just the opening assault on the Mako reactor in Midgar and Avalanche's subsequent escape from the upper plate. This may be largely due to the other thing Square Enix announced. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be released episodically. Let me say that again. It's going to be released episodically. Square. While I can see that releasing it episodically will help get the game out to fans faster, which is the reasoning that Yoshinori Kitase and Tetsuya Nomura gave, I am skeptical that such an approach can work with a fully fledged RPG. Most RPGs are games that you can sink hundreds of hours into, not really being meant to be consumed in bite-sized chunks, as opposed to something like one of Telltale Games' Walking Dead or Game of Thrones games, which are structured narratively in a way which lends itself to the episodic format. Plus, most people already know the story for 7, so releasing it episodically will probably just serve to destroy their audience retention rate, as people will get bored waiting for episodes to release and move on to other games.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on the skepticism concerning the episodic model. Personally, I don't agree with the reasoning of segmenting the experience to get it released sooner. That said, I do see some of the benefits to this model. There are some story beats during the course of the game's narrative that could be told separately from the overarching plot, and I'm sure Square will be fleshing out these in a whole lot more detail in different episodes. What this model could allow for is telling the story from different characters' perspectives. Perhaps we start as Cloud, and then in another episode we play as Zack, or Vincent, or even Yuffie. There are many games tied to the Final Fantasy VII saga, and this remake could allow for all of them to be combined into one huge episodic gaming experience.
I can definitely see the benefit of it if they choose to use the episodic model in such a manner. Perhaps we could have an episode that is entirely a flashback to the events of Crisis Core, or maybe even a short epilogue episode set during the events of Advent Children.
Even if it does turn out great though, I'd be more inclined to wait until every episode is released to start playing, so as not to have my experience interrupted by to be continued screens.
The music in the trailer was definitely a high point for me.
The soundtrack sounds like it will feature fully orchestrated versions of the original game's themes, which sound great and are sure to provide some great nostalgia for longtime fans.
I remember the first time I ever heard the original's intense battle theme as a child. I actually sometimes find myself humming that music to myself as I play League of Legends from time to time. Now, I want to touch upon the part of the remake that has made me the most nervous, the battle system. I personally prefer the old-school active-time battle systems of the older Final Fantasy titles, and I've never really enjoyed the more action-oriented systems. Even 12 left me with a bad taste in my mouth.
As far as the new direction of the battle system goes, I can understand where you're coming from, and I know a lot of fans are with you. I, on the other hand, have been really enjoying the new direction Square has been taking with its combat mechanics. I really enjoyed the fluidity of the combat in the Final Fantasy XV demo, and the battles in the new trailer for 7 seem to be adopting something similar with what looks like the command bar from the Kingdom Hearts series. This is all good news for me, because I was never really a huge fan of the original Final Fantasy VII. Having only picked it up after it was released on Steam, its age really showed, and I couldn't really enjoy it for what it was. This is why the new combat looks fun and exciting to me, and while it may put off some old school fans, the new Final Fantasy generation is going to have a great time with it, and finally have a way to fully appreciate the emotional and intricate narrative of Final Fantasy VII.
I get that viewpoint. I can definitely see how some people would prefer the action-based systems if they are newer fans of the franchise. The problem for me stems from the fact that Final Fantasy VII is a rather large part of my childhood. It was the first RPG I ever played, let alone the first Final Fantasy, so the original's ATB system is deeply ingrained in my mind. This battle system, though, looks like it's everything that I feared it would be. It looks to me like they're trying to 13ify the battle system. I suppose, though, that being able to share this wonderful experience that is the plot of this game is probably worth changing things to suit newer fans. I guess if I don't like it, at least I'll always have the original to go back to, and I'll admit, the trailer was still pretty hype. I'm still excited about the remake, although I'm a little bit cautious. It will apparently be released first on the PS4, followed a little while later by a release on the Xbox One. No word yet on a PC release, though Square Enix has been releasing a lot of their back catalog on Steam as of late, so it would not surprise me if we eventually get it. Huge thanks to Dom for coming on my channel and helping me break down the pros and cons of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you guys haven't already, click this button here to go check out Dom's channel over at Access Point Gaming. He does Let's Plays and reviews and music and all kinds of good stuff. It's totally sweet. Go check it out. If you guys like this video, give it a like, leave a comment down below, or subscribe. And as always, guys, have a good one.